I was born in Poland in a little town, Oleszyce, in 1924.
And it was a multi-ethnic community of 7,000 people.
And we shared, like in equal parts, Polish Catholics, Ukrainian, and Jews. We were all friendly to each other. We lived there many years. But we weren't like, on social basis, we weren't too close. We were very cordial to each other. People did business with each other. And it was a quiet life. We didn't know anything better, and we didn't have any complaints. Everybody lived their own lives.
And your family?
I had an extended family. I had a big family. I by myself are one of 8, the oldest of 8 children. And we had uncles and aunts, and everybody lived in the same city the whole time. Unfortunately, I am the only one left. From 8 children, I was the only one from the whole family.
And in that photograph, you stand off to the left, and below you, kneeling down, is your sister Hannah.
She was just a year younger than I was. And we were very close. Of course, all the children were close, but she was next to me. And she had a beautiful singing voice, beautiful. She sang in the choir in the school. You could just hear her voice.
You had a brother who was particularly gifted in...
I had a brother, Pinkas, who was gifted in art. He could draw, he was a little boy, anybody like a photograph.
On the 1st of September 1939, the Nazis attack Poland. 17 days later, the 17th of September, the Soviets invade Poland from the east. Oleszyce, located in Galicia, the southeastern corner of Poland, was really in the middle.
The motorcycles came first, and the tanks, and they right away wanted to scare the people, not just the Jews. When they went through the main street, they shot whoever it was on the street was shot. The main objective was just how to start to degrade the Jews. Before they killed them, they had to degrade them, to turn into nothing.
And then one day the Nazis summoned the Jewish population to the marketplace.
They told us to assemble everybody out from the house, old people, sick people, children, everybody had to go out to the market square. If not, they would be killed. Well, we came out to the market square, and here we see a bonfire. A bonfire made from all the Jewish prayer books from the synagogue. They emptied out the synagogue, the Torah scrolls, the books, everything what they found in the synagogues. There were 3 synagogues in the city, from all the synagogue, and they put them on the bonfire. When we came to the city, they put a match, they started the bonfire. At the same time, we turned our heads. At the same minute, we saw all the 3 synagogues on fire. When the fire started, they pushed the young girls to take the old men to dance. We should dance. Everybody around, we cried. And our neighbors were standing around, all the people, because you knew everybody. It's a small city. The non-Jews watched like a show and left, and we cried. The feeling that time was so painful. Look, that we are nothing. I remember I looked a dog past the street, and I felt like this. I was a young girl, and I felt, look, that dog is luckier than I am. I envied him. I saw he had a master. He was fed. We didn't have anybody to take our side. They were able to do with us what they wanted. So after the fire subsided, they told us to line up 4 by 4 and march through the whole city. It was the unhappiest, I think, well, next to losing everybody, that was a very unhappy moment for my life.
They dehumanized you.
Yes.
A step on the way to destruction.
Right. Then was an order to go. They organized a ghetto in the neighboring city, which was 7 kilometers from Oleshitsa where we lived. We had Lubachev. The city was Lubachev. They closed in a city block. And one day they ordered us to take just belongings, whatever we were able to carry. And we had to walk those 7 kilometers to the ghetto.
And would you describe the ghetto, please?
The ghetto consisted of one city block. Whoever came first had a room, got a room, one room. We had a normal size room. We lived 37 people in one room. It was my family, my uncle and his wife and his family, some aunts and uncle. Together we were 37 people. Now, it wasn't any running water. The water was brought in with buckets from the pump. We didn't have any electricity. It was a little wood stove in the corner. We wanted something to cook, but it wasn't nothing what to cook. And people lived even on the street. They lived in the halls. They lived on the steps. They lived in the attics, wherever they had place. And because of the tightness and the proximity and the unsanitary conditions, they were epidemics, different infectious diseases. So, and we lived so close, so they spread very quickly. Many people died. Every day were funerals. Now, to eat, they delivered every day flour and potatoes. It wasn't enough even for one person if not to be hungry, but not to a whole family, but we had to divide crumbs to everybody. And it was nothing what to do in that ghetto, not a newspaper. Even the one wall of the ghetto faced the city square in Lubachev, but the windows from outside were boarded up that we shouldn't be able to look out what is going on. And we didn't have not a radio and no newspaper, not any news to know what is going on in the world, how the war progresses. We didn't know anything.
But there was a Jewish boy who had been sent to the nearby death camp at Belzhitz, who escaped, came back to the ghetto.
And he came and he told us, people, you should know that those trains are going to Belzhitz, which was located a few stations from Lubachev. And this is only a death camp. When people are coming in, they are ordered to take off the clothes and go to take a bath. Separate the men, separate the women. When they come in, the doors are closed out from outside, and from the shower heads is coming outside poison, gas, and everybody is gassed. In a few minutes, everybody's dead. Then they left a few men they should carry out those bodies to the crematorium and burn them. And that's where we will go.
This Jewish boy, this slave in a death camp, how did he escape from Belzec?
I guess he's the only person I ever heard that escaped from Belzec, because from Belzec it is not one survivor, because it was strictly a death camp. But by chance, he told us that a German helped him to escape. He found a German who was a saint, and he let him escape. But the boy died anyhow later. He escaped, and he told us what had happened there. And there, everybody was already on alert. We knew what is going to happen with us. And so people tried to build hiding places, like our family had a double wall in the attic. From this house, people should be able to escape. But it didn't help, because everything was recovered. They found all the hiding places.
And then on January the 7th, 1943, they take you to the train station at Lubachov.
Yes. In 1943, in January, it was so cold, the coldest. We were shivering in the houses, because we didn't have any wood to make warm the houses. And it was so cold. German trucks came in. They went from house to house to chase out everybody from the house. And everybody whom they didn't find before, they found them later. Or those people who were hidden and they weren't discovered, when they came out, they found them and they were shot later. And they walked us to the train station. I remember the snow was crunching under the shoes, because it was so cold outside. Everybody was shaking. And we came to the train station. They were already cattle trains waiting for us. And the German soldiers told everybody to go into the train. And they were hitting, and children were crying. It was a big chaos by the station. It is difficult to describe, because families wanted to keep together, and somebody was lost, and they were screaming. Finally, we were inside, and the door from outside was closed, locked from outside. When we came, and we were stuck inside like herrings next to each other. And they were the barbed wires on those little windows. So everybody tried, who was close to that window, to pull out those barbed wires. In the meantime, the German soldiers, the SS people, were sitting on the roof. They went on the roof. They were warm dressed, of course. They were prepared that time for that weather. And they were watching nobody should escape. And so when the train started moving, people started to crawl out, pushed from inside from that little window. As the people went out, we heard shots. We couldn't see anything, but we heard shots. Finally, my father, and that was the last time my father spoke to me. And he said, "You oldest of three, you three, like for me, my sister Hannah, my brother next to us, you go out. Maybe somebody will survive to be able to tell what is happening to us, because we know where we are going, and we have to stay with the little children together, because the little children, no matter what, they won't be able to survive, even if they were free. But my little brother, the youngest, who was 3 years old, and he started to cry, "I want to live too, I want to live too." And these words stayed with me for the whole life, no matter how I tried to forget. Anyhow, first my brother jumped, he was the first. Then my sister, I was the last one. When I jumped, pushed out from inside, I ended up in a deep ditch of snow. And probably and they shot after me too. But as the train was in motion, somehow the bullet didn't hit me. The bullet didn't hit me, that even didn't touch me. And I listened, and I heard the train, and when the train, I didn't hear anymore any noise. The train passed by. I got up, and the first thing that we Jewish, in our city, some cities wore yellow stars. We had an armband with a star. I took off that armband, and I said, "No more, I'm not wearing it. Whatever happened, I'm not wearing it anymore."
The armband with the Star of David.
The Star of David, yes. And I walked back first to find my sister and my brother. But as I walked back, I saw just corpses. All those people whom I knew everybody. It was a small Jewish community that you knew. Everybody was dead. I found my sister and my brother dead. From that train, I was the only one to survive.
So once you jumped from the train, you went back to Oleschitsa.
Yeah, after I found the dead bodies, and I saw I can't help nothing, so I tried to go back to Oleschitsa, to a lady, a widow lady. She was Polish, to go to her. And I walked, and I came back to her. So she was afraid to let me in, because it was a law. Whoever hides a Jew, their whole family will be killed. So she was afraid that her family will be killed. But she let me stay till the evening. Later, she gave me a shawl I should keep warm, and have a bread and a few Polish zloty, and I went. She told me to go. It was dark outside, so I went to the end of the village. It was another family that I knew. They didn't open even the door. They were afraid to let me in. So they were farmers. So I went to the stables where they had the cows. I figured I will stay there to get a little warm. And I went into the stables, and it was a little calf was born, a new calf in the corner. So I embraced that calf and lie down with the calf, and fell asleep. The lady came in later to check on that calf, and she invited me in. She saw me, she felt sorry, let me go, but she told me right in the morning to go, because she was also afraid of that law to hide the Jews. So I walked 32 kilometers to another train station where nobody knew me, and I bought a ticket to Krakow. I came to Krakow. In Krakow, I didn't have anybody to go. I sat on the train station at night. Daytime, I walked around. It took a few days. I didn't have any more money. I didn't have any more bread. And one day I went out a little farther, and it was a farmer's market, outside market, where they sold vegetables. The farmer brought out to the city the vegetables. And as I went on that market, I saw big trucks are coming in, and they started to pull out young people. They took me too. Well, at that time, somehow I wasn't so scared because I saw they weren't Jews. And this time I pretended not to be Polish. And but I found out later that because the German men all were fighting a war, they were in the army, the small farmers didn't have people to work, so they appealed to the countries, the occupied countries, people should volunteer for work. Germany, but not too many wanted to volunteer, so they tried to take by force. So I was caught between those Polish boys and girls, because in Krakow they didn't have Ukrainians, they only Polish people, and they took us to, after a physical examination, and after those people didn't have documents, just as I didn't have, because they went just down to shop. And so they asked us just the name and a birth date, which I gave everything invented. I mean, because I gave them a Polish name. Of course, I didn't give my name.
And what name did you invent?
Katarina Czukowska. And even the birth date with the birth city, another city, because I didn't want anything with Lulashitsa anymore. I was scared. So anyhow, they took us to Vienna. And in Vienna, the farmers came to pick their workers. One family picked me, which was a German family who lived on the Austro-Czechoslovakian border. We were 80 kilometers from Vienna. There I survived till the end of the war, pretending to be Christian, went every Sunday to church, and tried to whatever anybody did, I did too, because I wasn't familiar with the Catholic. They were Catholic. With the Catholics' religion, I saw how important to know different religions. That time, I was too much sheltered because we lived in a different atmosphere, and. There I survived, and to that part, the Russian came in and liberated us. We told to go back to Poland. Well, and then two young men joined us. One's name was David, and David decided to marry my friend Annie, and we prepared for a wedding. And David had to go to Krakow. And my husband, Henry, he was in the Polish army, and he came back. He fought from Stalingrad to Berlin. He came in the first Polish army by the name of Kościuszko. And so, but that time, he came back to Poland and was stationed in Poznań. So he was supposed to go to Warsaw with some papers and change trains in Krakow. And David and Henry recognized each other on that station. And Henry wanted to know who survived from our city. David told him, "You have to come to the wedding, then I won't tell you." So Henry couldn't go because he was in the army. He didn't have a permit, so he came AWOL to Wrocław to the wedding. When he opened the door, I was sitting on a chair. I thought, I'm seeing a ghost. I almost fainted. And Henry came to me and said, "We are getting married." I said, "No, we are not getting married right now because I'm going next week to Sweden." I think it was the end of June or beginning of July, I left for Sweden. Henry came in November, illegal on a coal boat. When he came to Sweden, we were married in Sweden, December the 24th, 1946.
You eventually came to New Orleans in 1962.
Yes.
And now you and I travel the Deep South, telling your story to high school and middle school kids. And I wonder, what's the message that you want to impart to them?
First of all, everybody should know, and it's everybody, not just the children. This is I lived in several countries. The United States is the best country in the world to live. The second is we have all to avoid prejudice and hatred, because all those atrocities results only from hatred and prejudice. And we have to teach our children, we have to start with the young. Older people sometimes is difficult to convince, no matter what you will tell them. It is ingrained in their characters to hate. But I think everybody should be treated equal and everybody should be given a chance. And I hope that the history won't repeat itself. Of course, I can't forget that I had a family. In what way my family was taken away from me. I hope that forgiveness will teach other people not to do what was done before.
There's a Polish poet, Wyspiański, and you've quoted him to me before.
Yeah, I remember a Polish quote. Pamiętaj ludziom dobre, nie pamiętaj złego. That means remember good what people did to you, but try to forget the bad.